father, husband, retired Marine, and a direct descendant of the Stockbridge Munsee Band of Mohicans, and a descendant of the Menominee Nation. Chris holds a master's degree in human behaviors and is the owner of Caged MMA clothing and fight gear located in the Fox River Mall. While in the Marines, Chris died of sudden cardiac death and has been given a second chance at life. He now dedicates his life to helping people stay on the right path throughout education, leadership, motivation, poetry, and storytelling. Chris is in the process of publishing his first book called On the Outskirts, as well as his first spoken word video, As a Leader to Myself. Please help me in welcoming him to the stage today.
Hello everybody, how are you today? Good. Hey, first and foremost, thank you very much for allowing me to come in. Ms. Danielle Jones, thank you very much for inviting me. So with that being said, I want to quick start off with a fast story, and I'm going to teach you from a different perspective today. That's what it's about when we're talking about leadership. We can't always have the same mentality where we're going down that same path. We must look at things a little different because every single thing in life we can learn from. Everything. So I'm going to tell you a story about when I was 6 or 7, give or take. I went to Fond du Lac, that's where my aunt and uncle lived. And I think I was going to bed or I was in bed or something. And I woke up, so I went out to the front. And my family was watching a movie, a scary movie. And I literally walked in and somebody jumped out from behind the shower. Okay? It scared me. It scared me for a long time. I think honestly, about 2 years ago was the last time I stopped peeking behind the shower to make sure no one was behind there. But what I'm really saying is, at that time, that's how I looked at the shower. When in all reality, the shower is made for what? Cleaning ourselves, right? That's how we look at it. But now that I'm older, I look at the shower as many things. I practice this exact speech in the shower probably 5 or 6 times. I clean myself, I brush my teeth. I use it to think. Sometimes I sit down and I just let the water hit me. Sometimes I warm up, sometimes I cool down. The shower is so many different things. But when we're talking about leadership, we can't just think of leadership in one direction. That's a small example. So that being said, I'm going to help you understand that leadership is everywhere. It depends on how you look at it. So I want you to think about when you go down 41 north or south, whatever direction you go, and I want you to think about the wintertime, the biggest storm that you can think of. And I want you to picture yourself driving down. As you're driving down 41 north or south, you look around. A lot more trucks are in the ditch than we expect, right? Trucks are in the ditch more than cars. Statistically speaking, I can't answer that, okay? I tried to find it everywhere. I couldn't find it. But to me, more trucks end up in ditches than cars. You say, what does that have to do with leadership? And I'll explain that. Give me 1 second here. It's all about humility, humbleness. If we were to take a step back and we would think about ourselves in that truck, but act as though we're in a car, and we know that we have these big tires, these monster tires. We know we have 4-wheel drive. We know we have all the bells and whistles. Our truck weighs a lot more than a car. But if we act as though we're in a car, but we're really in a truck, we will succeed more than we will fail. We will get to point A better than we would in a car. But all too often we get wrapped up and we get pumped up because we got the big muscles and we want to show everybody how big we are. But if we remain humble, we can get much further in life than if we sit and talk about how great we are. We must remain humble. That brings me to my next point. Okay, this is a knot, right? A knot. A simple knot. Not a simple one probably, but to me it's just a knot. When we think about knots, I want you to think about mistakes in your life. I want you to think about hurdles. I want you to think about hills. I want you to think about all the things that hold you back sometimes and you have a hard time getting through. But that knot right there, it can be undone. That knot can be undone, but all too often we say, oh man, I can't get that, so we snip it off and we keep going, or we tie around the knot, or whatever the case may be. But that knot can be undone. Remember, today I'm talking to you about great leaders, okay? Great. Being a great leader. No matter how big the knot is, how small the knot is, no matter what's going on with the knot, you must look at it like you can get through it. And once you get through the knot, you need to pass that education on. If you don't pass that education on, you're failing other people. Because the young people are the ones that are going to be leading this country someday. So when we get through that knot, we must educate. We can't hold that into ourselves. But I want to back up for a second. Remember, the title of my PowerPoint is Back Up. And you'll understand why in a second. Let's back up for a second. So more trucks end up in ditches than cars, right? We must remain humble. More trucks end up in ditches than cars. We must step back. We must recognize the importance of being humble. But at the same time, knots can be undone. Knots can be undone. You just have to figure it out. You have to keep working on it. You have to continue to persevere. You can't stop when the knot gets too tight, because the knot is never too tight. So that brings me to my next point. All right, so I want to, by show of hands, real quick. This is a crazy question. How many of you say, when you make pancakes, you say, I'm looking forward to making the crappiest pancake in the world right now? I'm making no hands. All right, no hands. There are no hands in here. So now I want you to think back for a second. So when you're making that pancakes, or those pancakes, whatever the last time was, you mix it all together, you're doing all this stuff, putting all the bells and whistles, you got Grandma's old secret recipe, you're doing all that good stuff. But ultimately, pancakes teach perfection. Making a pancake teaches you perfection. However, none of us, including myself, is perfect. We are not perfect. But pancakes teach us goals. We never want to make a crappy pancake. We want to make the best pancake. We want the whipped cream on, the cherry, and the Mickey Mouse ears. We want to present that thing and be like, whoa, that was an awesome pancake. That's what we want. So making pancakes teaches us perfection. However, we'll never be perfect, but it teaches us about being goal-oriented. Remember that. Making pancakes will teach us about goals. We want goals. So now I want to back up again, right? So remember, more trucks end up in ditches than cars. But if we act like we're in a car, but we're really in a truck, we will get much further. And I want to tell you about humility. Last night I stayed up real late watching fights. I'm a huge UFC fan. Last night John Jones defended his title. But the week before that, Rashad Evans, a pioneer in the mixed martial arts sports, got knocked out in the first round. He's about 36 years old, he got knocked out. Well, it was awesome what I saw on the UFC post-fight show yesterday, is that he hosted on Fox Sports 1 all the analyses. He did all that after just getting knocked out 1 week before. Can you imagine that? You got knocked out when you're a professional athlete. That's like striking out when the game's on the line for you. Same thing, just different sports. But he got back up and he did it. So I'm going to use Rashad Evans through this whole thing. So now remember, the knots can be undone. So now Rashad Evans, I don't know what he's going to do. But he learned. He learned from getting knocked out. Now maybe he's got to keep his hands up more. Or maybe he wants to step back because of his family. Whatever the case may be. But remember, knots can be undone. So with that being said, pancakes. Pancakes teach perfection. However, none of us will ever be perfect. But it teaches us about goals. And we can't forget that. So moving forward. All right, right here. And this is kind of a bad picture, but I had to have this picture because 4 months ago this came up on my Facebook page. All right, as you can see, it's a pack of wolves. And right now, if you think about wolves, you think about the bad reputation they have because of storybooks, Little Red Riding Hood. All these wolves are killing people all over. Well, you know what? I'll tell you right now, there's been one wolf death in the past 100 years or so. We have more of a chance of dying from eating popcorn, watching a movie, and the kernel gets stuck in our throat than a wolf pack killing us. So, why am I saying that? Because a wolf pack is the epitome of teamwork. The epitome of teamwork. And when you look at this is a true photo. It was taken at, I believe, Yellowstone National Park. But if you look at this photo, and this is how they broke it down in the paragraph. The ones in the front, those ones were the ones that were injured. Those are the ones that were hurt. Those are the ones that were the elderly. They're leading the pack. All too often we think the pack leader's out in the front doing his thing. But hang on, bear with me and I'll help you understand it a different way. So that's the front. So then behind them you have another 5 or 6 of them or so. And those are the wolves that are, the go-getters, the young men and women coming up ready to go get some. They're there just in case if something happens. And then behind them you've got the pups and kind of the feeding mothers, the ones who are kind of in the middle there. And then behind them you got a few more powerful ones. But in the way back, you see in the way back, well, 50 yards, maybe 25, I can't tell by the picture, but that's the pack leader back there. But the beauty of a pack of wolves is the fact that that pack knows exactly what they need to do. That leader has everything under control. Every single person in that team has their role, and they want to survive. They want to have their pups grow up and do the next thing. They want to hunt. They want to do all these things, territory, all this stuff. So when we're talking about leadership, ladies and gentlemen, we must know our team. We must know our squad, our people, our company, whatever we work with. We must understand diversity. We must recognize differences. We must be able to take our shoes off and then slap them into someone else's shoes and can continue walking forward because we understand that individual. That is power. The power of the pack. Wolves are the epitome of teamwork. So now let's back up for a second, right? We're going to back up again. Remember, more trucks end up in ditches than cars. No matter how big in life you think you are or how big you ever get truly, let other people talk about it. Be humble. You will get much further in life by being humble. Now remember also, knots can be undone. No matter what's going on in your life, okay? No matter what's going on in your life, knots can be undone. They can be undone, I promise you, but we must untie it. We must put it in our tool belt. We must educate young people. We must pass on the knowledge. Remember this. Making pancakes teach perfection. However, we'll never be perfect. But it teaches us about goals. It teaches us about goals. We want to make that best pancake. Now remember this. If you only have one goal in life, let's say you don't get it for whatever reason. You're at 0% success rate with your goals. But if you have 50 goals, 100 goals, and I'm just using 50 as an example, and only 25 of those goals you succeed in, you're at 50%. You know what? That's great. Because sometimes we just can't reach every single one of our goals, and that's okay. And sometimes we get to a goal and we realize, I don't even know if I want that goal no more. But we must continue to be goal-oriented. We must have a drive. And remember, the wolf pack teaches is the epitome of teamwork. Remember that. Moving forward. So right here, we have a crocodile, right? So, actually it's an alligator. But anyways, crocodiles and alligators, all right? They're masterful. Okay? You know why I put this up here? Because they are the epitome of resiliency. They are resilient. They can lower their heart rate to 5 beats per minute and hold their breath underwater for an hour. They have been here since Tyrannosaurus Rexes were here. They were here when Littlefoot from Land Before Time was around. My point is, they always have the ability to survive and bounce back. No matter what comes at you, no matter what's in your way, great leaders are able to push through. They can recognize what they need to do. They have that understanding. Because in life, I'll tell you, there's going to be people that bother you. There's going to be things that happen to you that you can't handle it right now, or whatever the case may be. You might get depressed. You might have a ton of anxiety. But you know what? Great leaders keep pushing forward. They don't stop. They keep marching forward no matter what's going on. Sometimes they back up a little bit, but then they keep going. But let's back up for a second. Remember, more trucks end up in ditches than cars. Remember, knots can be undone. No matter how tight that knot is, how big or how small. Remember, making pancakes teaches perfection. However, we'll never be perfect, but we must have those goals. Remember, a wolf pack is the epitome of teamwork. Know your people. Understand strengths and weaknesses. Recognize how to help people. You know, one thing that I notice all too often, you've got these warriors of workers, right? They're the number one. They're the solid go-to worker. And then you've got someone that's struggling. This is just kind of a side note, but you got someone who's struggling. We put all of our time as leaders into this one, but we forget about this one, even though because we don't have to worry about them, but we want to keep educating them too. We can't forget about them. We can never forget about them. We must work with both of them, and we must seek that understanding. So, the next thing, remember, we must be resilient. No matter what happens. No matter what happens, like if I chuck a boomerang, I know it's coming back at me, and I'm ready for it. Boom. I'm resilient. Remember that. Moving forward. All right, last thing here. I got 2 more slides for you. So, real quick, I want you to think back to the last time you built a sandcastle. For me, I think it was last summer, but I can't remember exactly. But I want you to think about it. Okay, so you take that bucket of sand, right? You pick it up, you put a bunch of water in it because you want to be able to make a nice solid one. You tip it upside down, you step back, you look at it, put some holes in it, make some windows, make a little river around it. You go over here, you grab a little twig, put it on the top, and now you got a little sandcastle. But you're sitting down while you're making it, right? You're not standing up making a sandcastle. That'd be awkward. You're sitting down, but once you stand up and you look down at that sandcastle, now you see the big picture. Now you recognize the big picture. Now you say, hey, watch where you're going with that volleyball. Hey, don't step on my sandcastle. I put a lot of work in. Wait, I better fix that river because it's going to dry out quick. Whatever the case may be, but you're making a sandcastle, and now you see the big picture. Great leaders have a vision. Great leaders can see the big picture. One of my supervisors always told me, she always said, Chris, remember the 50,000 feet above vision. And it used to bug me. And okay, I got it. But you know what? She's 100% right. We must be able to look down, just like that sandcastle, and recognize what we need to do. We must be able to focus on everything. We must have a vision. We must have our goals. But now let's back up for a second, right? We got to back up. We can't forget about what else we're doing. More trucks end up in ditches and cars. We must be humble, right? Definitely. Knots. They suck sometimes, but we have to know that we can get through them and get them undone. We must be able to complete whatever we need to do. Remember, making pancakes teaches perfection. However, we will never be perfect, but we can set goals for ourselves. We must have many goals. Remember, a wolf pack is the epitome of teamwork. You must know your team. You must be a team player. You must be there for other people when they need you. You must be loyal. You must be ready for them. Remember, the crocodile and the alligator, they're prehistoric. They've been around forever. They're resilient. They don't quit. They can survive. Great leaders survive. So, with all that being said, I got a little slide for you. And I'm going to play a song here for you real fast. And the reason I'm going to play this song, okay, is because there's one key element about leadership that we forget about. Okay? One key element. All right, so every single day when I open my store up, I play this song first. Okay, if I listen to music. Lately I haven't been. But my point is, you got to be yourself. If you're not yourself, you will fail already. If you're taking over other people's, ideas and all this stuff, that's great to get them, but do you. The second you fall off your path, you will struggle. Stay on your path. It's going to kick you off sometimes. It's going to hurt you. It's going to have all these struggles, but you must continue to push forward. Because more trucks end up in ditches and cars. But we must be humble. You cannot forget. You can get through anything. I didn't mean to get emotional, but I'll tell you, you have to keep pushing forward. I've died. Dead. 3 minutes, unconscious, dead. They brought me back. I'm not done. I just started. I'm just starting now. Remember, you climb up a tree and you look down, that's also the big picture. Remember the hawk is a messenger. Remember when you see a seagull, remember perseverance, they're survivors. You never give up. Remember when you look at a horse pulling a buggy, that's the epitome of hard work. Ants also teach hard work. Crows, they talk about change. You know that they can see you and they know your face after one time? Remember, rhinoceros will teach us about independence. You see big herds of rhinos, know they're by themselves and they're kicking butt. So my whole point to all this is, all these things up here, you better be humble. You must be humble. Learn from your mistakes. Have goals and continue to get better. Understand diversity. Work well with others. Understand people. That is a gift. If you can understand another person, like I said earlier, you slip your shoes off and you slap on someone else's, and you can understand that is powerful and that is a gift. You cannot forget other people. Have that vision. Never forget about that vision. But most importantly, no matter what you take from this, be yourself. Be you and go get whatever you want to get in life. Don't let anyone stop you, no matter what happens. So with that being said, thank you very much for hearing me out today. NSLS, it has been an honor to come and speak to you. UW Oshkosh, I love you to the day I die. Again, thank you all very much. Have a great day.